Hey, what's up everybody? Commander Radix here, bringing you another episode of History and Lore, my series where we look into the history and lore of this world, anything from what happened in 2002 to anything that happened in Homer. And today is going to be very much a more Homer-y video. You see, recently I was thinking about the Lotus-eaters. No, not them. Leave it to Carl Benjamin to name two things after important historical figures and ideas, and yet somehow managing to become more popular than them in the common conversation. The same problem happens when we talk about Sargon of Akkad. But I was thinking a lot about the Lotus-eaters, who first appear in Homer's The Odyssey. And they're very briefly mentioned in The Odyssey, but these past few days I've been looking out my window or staring off into the sea and thinking about the Lotus-eaters. Now, if you have not read the Odyssey, first of all, why are you on this channel? Read the Odyssey, you noob. But if you haven't read the Odyssey in a while, or you don't know who the Lotus-eaters are, let's have a little bit of a reading from the Odyssey by Homer. Book 9, starting at around verse 95-ish. The context is, of course, the whole book basically is about Odysseus' journey back home to Ithaca after the Trojan War and all the escapades and mishaps that happen on this journey, and he's going to arrive in the land of the Lotus-eaters. 9 whole days I was borne along by rough, deadly winds on the fish-infested sea. Then on the 10th our squadron reached the land of the Lotus-eaters, people who eat the lotus, mellow fruit and flower. We disembarked on the coast, drew water there, and crewmen snatched a meal by the swift ships. Once we'd had our fill of food and drink, I sent a detail ahead, 2 picked men and a third, a runner, to scout out who might live there. Men like us, perhaps, who live on bread. So off they went, and soon enough they mingled among the natives, Lotus-eaters. Lotus-eaters who had no notion of killing my companions, not at all. They simply gave them the lotus to taste instead. Any crewman who ate the lotus, the honey-sweet fruit, lost all desire to send a message back, much less return. Their only wish to linger there with the Lotus-eaters, grazing on lotus, all memory of the journey home dissolved forever. But I brought them back to the hollow ships and streaming tears. I forced them, hauled them under the rowing benches, lashed them fast, and shouted out commands to my other steady comrades. Quick, no time to lose, embark in the racing ships, so none could eat the lotus, forget the voyage home. They swung aboard at once, they sat to the oars in ranks, and in rhythm churned the water white with stroke on stroke. So the Lotus-eaters show up in a very brief passage in the Odyssey, but they left quite an impression. Now, by the way, besides Homer, we also have an attestation to the Lotus-eaters from Herodotus. He mentions them in his Histories. He mentions them specifically in Book 4, verses 177 to 178, as well as verse 183. And he basically puts the Lotus-eaters somewhere in the northern coast, the northeastern coast of Libya. I'm sorry, northwestern coast, not northeastern coast. They're on the northwestern coast of Libya, up around towards the Tunisian border. And indeed, in the illustrated edition of Edith Hamilton's Mythology, the artist Jim Tierney does put the Lotus-eaters basically on the border, the coastal border between Tunisia and Libya today. So this would place them, if we are looking at Odysseus to be after the events of the Trojan War, then the Lotus-eaters would have lived in the area around, at least a little bit before, like 1185 BCE-ish. And if Herodotus is still saying they're still there, then that would have continued into I think he's writing in like 480 BC-ish, crossing from the Bronze Age into the Iron Age. Ethnically speaking, they're probably some sort of Berber people, maybe. They're North Africans before we have sort of the Arab invasion that populates a lot of North Africa today. That happened in the Middle Ages. It's also possible they might have been some sort of colonists from some sort of Phoenician or Greek colonization effort, who knows. But we know they were living there in North Africa based on these accounts at least. Now, when we read the story of the Lotus-eaters, we learn of a people that are just chilling there, eating lotus, whatever that is. It's like a flower. They're just chill, man. They're just relaxing. They're just having fun, dude. They don't want to kill nobody, but they also don't want to do literally anything. Now, I think a lot of readings of the Odyssey that give an interpretation of the Lotus-eaters will talk about something like, oh, this is like weed. This is like any sort of drug where you're just zoned out, right? But I want to sort of bring in another interpretation. Not saying that interpretation is wrong, but there's another thing that I think speaks loudly to our modern day. You know, I think in a way, a lot of us moderns, especially Gen Z, which I am unfortunately a part of on the oldest outskirts of Gen Z, but the lotus, yeah, it's a plant, it's a food. We can easily look at it as a type of drug, as a type of some sort of stimulant like that, but also think about the effect of making people not want to do anything. I think we all have our own lotus in us. In us? We're consuming our own lotus. This is getting weird. Let me cut to the point. As a Zoomer, I think my lotus is the internet, that is mindlessly browsing the internet. I have a very curious mindset. I'm very interested in learning things. Just take a look at this channel and it's very obvious that I'm very curious about learning things and then teaching about them. Just look at all these videos on my channel. Most of this is some sort of commentary on information. So I am really susceptible to going into a Wikipedia page wanting to learn more about, oh, who lived in this place at this time? And then I see a few other links that I'm more interested in, and I click on those links, and then I find more information I'm interested in, and I click on those links. Please tell me I'm not insane. Do any of you guys go into Wikipedia rabbit holes? And sometimes I'm like so deep in Wikipedia that it's like, I should be doing something else. Sometimes I forget to eat supper because I'm too busy going through a Wikipedia rabbit hole. And it's funny because I'm like, it's like snacking on information. I'm never really like taking the time to go in depth to actually do a full study on a subject. I'm always just taking these small bits of information and consuming them, which is a problem. Which I hope, you know, me running this history and lore series can sort of resolve because it requires me to look more detail into certain topics like the Lotus-eaters. I read every account of the Lotus-eaters from the ancient world for this video. That being said, it's literally just Homer and Herodotus, so... Does Plato talk about the Lotus-eaters? Hold on. Shout out to my girlfriend who got me the complete works of Plato. Okay, Plato brings up the Lotus-eaters sort of metaphorically in the Republic, Book 8. He seems to be talking about the Lotus-eaters as these sort of, you know, as this distraction, as this, taking away from the good. I literally just skimmed this, so Plato experts, please don't kill me for misinterpreting that. Another lotus that I eat very often is things like YouTube videos. I can get into a stream of rewatching YouTube videos I liked, watching new YouTube videos. Every now and then, after I've been watching YouTube for like 4 hours, I'm going to go, oh, why am I watching a review about this game? And this review is 1 hour long, and I have no interest in actually playing this game or in this game whatsoever. And in fact, I really don't like the narrative style this guy is reviewing the game. I don't think he's making valid points, but here I am already 40 minutes into it. Meanwhile, I haven't done any meal prep. I haven't done any studying Japanese or Latin, things like that. I haven't made YouTube videos. This YouTube video, by the way, is being made the day before it goes out. So I'm very much behind schedule because of that. And I think that's probably why I was thinking about the Lotus-eaters, because I realized that I've been distracting myself ever since my trip to Taiwan a few weeks ago. If you guys are watching this channel live and watching each new video as it comes out, all 5 of you who are doing that, then you'll know that I was going pretty strong, and then Taiwan happened. And, you know, I got off my schedule, I got off my routine when I was in Taiwan because I was traveling, right? But ever since then, I've been struggling to get back into the grind, into my usual routine. And this week, I'm going to fight. I'm going to do a battle with the Lotus-eaters. Just like Odysseus had to grab his men and take them crying away from the Lotus-eaters to get back on the ships. I must be my own Odysseus and rip myself away from YouTube and from Wikipedia again. I need to actually study in depth. I need to actually plan out my videos. I need to organize my time again. Also, funnily enough, the Lotus-eaters interpreted in a Christian context, often are considered a type of sin, an allegorical type of sin. They are sloth, they are acedia. And what's funny is Thomas Aquinas, in the Roman Catholic tradition, talks about how curiosity is a type of sin. It's a type of vice against virtue. That your curiosity can lead you to doing things, not even studying, but snacking on information when you should be doing other things. And I was reading that, I'm like, wow, Thomas Aquinas, you right. You right, man. Because here I am, I need to be paying my bills, but I'm too engulfed in... What have I been engulfed in? I've been too engulfed in liturgical calendars. I've been doing a lot of research into liturgical calendars. I also think it's interesting that the lotus, if we go into more Eastern traditions, often symbolizes things like spiritual awakening or awareness, enlightenment in a way. In Buddhism, the Lotus Sutra is one of the most important sutras in Chinese Buddhism, in Japanese Buddhism. And even in St. Thomas Christianity, in the apostolic Christianity that came into India, crosses are often symbolized on top of lotuses, as the cross is a symbol of enlightenment on top of the symbol of enlightenment, just like how Hindu gods will be sitting on lotuses, and just how the Buddha will often be sitting on a lotus. And it's interesting, I found that an interesting connection, how my curiosity is a desire for enlightenment and knowledge, and here I am consuming the lotus. But at some point, when we get into the Odyssey, that is a bad thing. And Thomas Aquinas sort of bridges those worlds and says, yes, curiosity, knowledge in and of itself is a good, but you have to understand how you're consuming it. So you need to be the lotus. You need to bloom like the lotus. I think there's a Chinese proverb or saying about how the lotus comes from the mud, from the dirt, but then it still shines beautifully unstained. You need to be the lotus. You don't eat the lotus. Anyway, these are the types of videos I make when I'm behind schedule and need to get a video out as fast as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know, what is your lotus? What lotus are you eating? Please don't say weed. You could demonetize my video. Go ahead and follow me on all the social media. Links are in the description, and have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. See ya!